Mel, welcome back to the studio.
Hola, thanks for having me.
You seem to get higher and higher pitched every time you do that.
Sorry.
That's
The
all right.
hola or the thanks for having me?
Yeah, all of it.
Maybe it's the anxiety around the fact that I'm still coming back in here.
Yeah, correct. I wasn't real happy that you were coming from Shepparton. I shouldn't say that.
No social distancing
Yes.
for the win.
Yeah,
we
correct.
cut that out.
Yeah. I won't make reference to the fact that you came from a different place to this place.
This is considered essential.
It is. Well,
We're here for the people right now. And I'm within a far enough proximity from you that I deem it okay.
it's become obvious to me that there's a few essential things in life. Apparently, freezers, microwaves, and punching sideways.
That's about it.
Yeah.
That's all there is. Freezers, you reckon?
Yeah, I can guarantee that one.
Oh, because you work in the industry.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Dermel.
Yeah, Dermel. Come on. Come
sorry.
on, Dermel.
Demel. That's my new nickname. So you've got me in here again. This time, this is a guy that interests me a little bit. Chris Miller.
Well, I hope he does because you know him and I don't at this point. So.
Yeah. So I had a little bit of a hand in this one. I suggested that we get Chris Miller in. He's a super cool dude. He's got a big kick-ass beard, which that's a tick in my box.
That's reason enough at least for one interview.
Yeah, and he does this cool thing at the moment, which, Josh, is very, very necessary at the moment as a new platform, and it was an old platform for him. He Twitch streams all his music.
From what I've seen of his work and from what you've described, he's doing it at a really high level, which we will hopefully dig into today with Chris.
Level expert.
Level.
Expert level.
Right. Well, it is a gaming platform, Twitch, so that's probably exactly how they describe him.
That's exactly why I was going down that lane. And, yeah, he's been working on his craft for a long time, and you should get to know him a little bit because he's got a wealth of knowledge.
Righto. Well, we'll jump in with Chris. I've heard he's a champion guy and obviously a very talented dude,
Yep.
so I've been looking forward to this one for a while.
He's teched up, so it's in your lane.
Yeah. And from what I've heard, he writes a decent song too, so that's definitely down my lane too. PunchingSideways.com.
And producermel. And buy me a fucking coffee.
That's not what the website's called. Buymeacoffee.com/Joshua C. Liston. I mean, you can try it if you're at home right now and you type that in, see if that goes somewhere.
It's the only thing I've got going on in life at the moment is buy me a coffee.
You've had enough coffee. Righto, this is Chris Miller. Thanks to everyone listening, and share this one around if you like it, because I'm pretty sure that Chris and us, we'd all appreciate that.
For sure.
So, C. Miller Music, was it on Instagram?
Yep.
Who is this other C. Miller Music? Are they a Chris Miller Music? Because I noticed that you've got the _AU. And did you do Did you do any investigation into who that is?
Look, I originally, it's funny. Originally, I had my username was Static, and it was a bit of a running joke for a while because my microphone sucked that bad that there was static in the background. So it became a bit of a laughing joke between me and my gaming friends that was my gamer tag. And when I first started doing things online like music and stuff, my name originally was Static, and then I thought, no, I have to make this easier for people to find, right? So I changed it to C. Miller Music, and it was very difficult to get any sort of variation of Chris Miller, C. Miller Music, whatever it may be. There was lots of the same. I couldn't get the same username across multiple social medias. So Twitter and Instagram has the _AU, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I don't think that, well, I'm not sure if Joshua Liston is all that common a name, but I chose Joshua C. Liston, which is my full name. And when I've been interviewed by people that don't really look at my last name for whatever reason, or I quite often get called Joshua Cliston. So that didn't really work for me either.
See, I was thinking that your nickname was Static because that's what your career was like before you got onto Twitch. And not.
Yeah, no.
I could relate. I could call myself Static right now too.
Nodding in agreement.
yeah, we're all just nodding. Yeah.
Well, we went there, so let's go there. Let's talk Twitch, mate.
Yeah. Twitch. how did you get on to Twitch? So for anyone at home, how would you, because it's becoming more of a platform now, I would say, now that we're all in lockdown. But before that sort of happened, you were a bit of a revolutionary type dude around the Albury-Wodonga area. So tell us, for people at home who don't know what it is it?
So Twitch, the easiest way I can put it for people who don't understand what Twitch is think of Facebook Live. So people have been seeing a lot of Facebook Live, obviously, with musicians and stuff. But twitch.tv is a streaming platform specifically designed for live streaming. So it's got much better quality audio and video, and the streaming service is much more stable compared to something like a Facebook Live, which downgrades the quality. But Twitch is primarily for gamers who stream gaming, but there is definitely a very strong music and performing arts category or movement on Twitch that is just a phenomenal community. So much respect for each other, so much support for each other. It's very akin to Albury-Wodonga in terms of, all the love and support that everybody gives each other. Twitch is very much like that, but on a global scale.
So one thing that I've always wondered about Twitch was the lineage of that company was in gaming. But
correct.
What was it about that platform or the tools that they offered that had the music community embrace it to a level where things like Facebook Live and YouTube before that, which you would say is probably a more sophisticated platform than Facebook Live, what is it about Twitch that is, like, on both sides, on the artist side and the fan side, what is it that's so special about it? Because it seems like it was the least music oriented as far as their own marketing. Like, they weren't promising the world like YouTube, put your stuff here and we'll make you famous, but they seem to be doing the highest quality stuff and offering tools that I'm assuming are better.
So there's a number of things. So first of all, there's a tech side, and then there's also a monetary side. So the tech side of things is there's a lot more third-party stuff that works on Twitch. So, for instance, artists that played on Facebook Live understand that when people are doing requests, sometimes it can be difficult in terms of not understanding, do I know that song? People out there listening don't know what songs I know. On Twitch, however, there's plugins, and we call them bots because they're literally just a little bot that sits in the background. And you can do commands and stuff within my Twitch channel. So, for instance, if you do !SL, which stands for song list, it gives up a link that says, here are all the songs I know. Have a look.
Yeah,
and then people can click on that link, have a look at all my different songs. And if they like a song and want to hear me play it, they can come back to my chat and type in !SR, which stands for song request, and the name of the song, and it will automatically place that song into a queue. So I can keep track of what songs are requesting. So I play for about 3.5 to 4 hours per stream. And I pretty much don't pick the songs I play the entire time. My chat does. I don't do anything other than I see the queue, they put the song in, and then I just play a song that's in the queue and go through that whole night.
Right, I'm kind of blown away by that because that is
It's really cool.
Like, just seeing chunks of it. I had no idea that you were performing for that kind of length of time. Like, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But were they co-opted tools that were being used for something else by gamers, or has Twitch actually rolled out that functionality for artists?
No, they're third-party bots. So there's many different ones that do different things. So, for instance, I've got another one that's called Nightbot, and that's the biggest one in the world. For Twitch, it also hooks up to YouTube and Mixer and a bunch of different other streaming platforms. But simply things like I can put in my own custom commands. So I can put in, I've got one that's called socials. So if someone types in !socials, it'll give them a link that takes them to all my social media platforms. It will also give them, there's many, many custom commands, and then there's ones that are on timers that every now and again it just pops up and says, hey, if you like the channel, make sure to give them a follow, or hey, Chris has a new single coming out, you can pre-save it here. It's almost like it gives calls to actions, or I can make things for my community that just make it easier. So, and same questions like, oh, Chris, where do you live? And someone can just go location, ! Location. It comes up saying Chris lives in a place called Albury-Wodonga on the border of New South Wales, Victoria. You know what I mean? It's just makes things flow a bit easier. And
I guess that takes the workload off you,
absolutely,
in real time having to answer, but also answering things that may wear you down over time if you get 1,000 people over the course of a few months asking where you live.
Exactly. But also on the same side of that with Twitch, you've got these things called moderators. So for instance, let's say I'm streaming and yourself and Mel are my moderators. You are given extra tools that you can then help me run my stream. So things like, let's say somebody comes in and is being a troll, is saying some nasty things. Rather than me having to stop my performance and deal with that person, my moderators in my channel can just ban that person and remove them from my channel for me. So they can almost like look after the channel while I'm doing things, so I don't have to, take my time out of giving the community what they like and want, because there's other people there that can help me do certain things, and they're giving their special tools and things.
That's awesome.
You got your own little gang in the background, your security gang.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of like having an inner fan club, or the modern version of a street team, but they've got a set of tools that they can use.
It's like a business. So if you consider it like a business, it's like employees that are working on the front desk to make sure that people that come in behave themselves, essentially. And you can increase or decrease that level of scrutiny. Like some streamers have PG streams, so no swearing, no anything like that. I want a purely family friendly. If somebody comes in that's not family friendly, they may get a warning, and then they might get timed out for a while or something like that, just to keep everything on the up and up.
How many of them do you have? Do you have many?
I've probably got, I think I've got about half dozen.
Yeah. Right.
And they're not all of them are on at the same time. So I might only have 3 or 4 on at one time, or I might only have 2. Sometimes I've got all 6. So it just depends, because they're all over the world. So I've got one from Denmark, one from New Zealand, one from Australia, one from Germany, one from America. So no matter what time I play at, I'm always going to have a moderator in my channel to help me.
I guess just in case we didn't cover off on it, can you just describe, Chris, just give an approximation of the general style maybe of music that you play, but how that transitions over to Twitch, particularly that it's maybe, has it evolved or morphed, or are you doing things that are kind of complementary to the platform that have come into the music as well? Because Mel was mentioning that you're using some loopers and that sort of stuff. Is that something that you have dived deeper into? Because, that sort of, I'm assuming there's an overhead angle when you're doing all of that sort of stuff, or some other kind of camera angle that people love that kind of stuff when they can see you juggling pedals and whatever. Yeah.
So when I it's funny because we looked at my very first sort of streams and compared to what it is today, and it is worlds apart.
Yeah.
To put it bluntly, like when I first started, I had the worst of the worst gear, all that sort of stuff. And basically I learned from other music streamers, because it was no longer just a musical performance. It was you're putting on a show, and you only have 20 to 30 seconds to capture that viewer before they go and go to someone else, because they want to see really high quality stuff. It's the same on YouTube. You go to YouTube and you can get the difference between a production level video and a mobile phone video. Most people are going to listen to the production one because it just looks aesthetically better. So it's the same thing on Twitch. I've added different things. Like you said, I've added a camera that looks down at my loop pedals and all my loop pedals and stuff, so that people can see what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I often get a lot of questions from other musicians like, oh, how are you doing this? And I'll explain how it works and what loop pedal I'm using and things like that just, keep the conversation rolling and keep them captivated.
Cool. Do you think that this has set you up? Like, obviously you can't perform live at the moment, but you're practicing all the time in a way that's live, like you've got an audience. Yep. Is it transferable, or it's quite different when you're actually playing to people that are in front of you visually and jumping around and whatnot? Or do you think it's the same sort of thing?
Funnily enough, I started on Twitch because 2 years ago, I wasn't even a singer. I just played guitar for other people, and all my vocalists moved away to other towns, so I didn't have anyone else that could sing for me. So I went, I guess I better do it myself. But I didn't want to go do live gigs because I didn't feel, up to the standard that I knew a lot of other people in the area were up to. So I used Twitch as a means to practice and get better and performing in front of people and be able to, and not necessarily that I'm not seeing them, but I know they're there and I can see an actual number.
Yep.
of viewers. And I'm performing to these people and I'm practicing and whatnot. So when it became time to do live gigs, I had hundreds of hours of practice on all these different songs in my song list because I'd been on Twitch for, 9 hours a week at a minimum performing live. And so when I got to a gig and I was just doing like a 3-hour set, it was just really easy. Like I felt really comfortable playing everything. The only difference was instead of looking at a number, I was actually looking at people. It's funny because on Twitch, I find the engagement is far better than it is at a live gig. So if I'm a musician playing, and a lot of musicians will feel this, sometimes you play a gig and you're sort of just like the background noise. You know what I mean? Like you're there to fill the space. Whereas on Twitch, if people are coming into your channel to watch music, they are specifically there to watch you play.
Yeah. Good little pat on the back for that one.
I haven't been in a band for a couple of years now, but there's only ever a certain percentage of a live venue room, unless you're the headline act, obviously, and you've got your own draw. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not pure background music, there's only a certain percentage that are really going to be into what you're doing or have any interest into it.
Correct.
Or any energy for the fact you're doing anything whatsoever. I guess you're kind of, just by the nature of the platform, the people that stay for anything beyond 20 or 30 seconds, as you were saying, they obviously have an affinity for the music style or they wouldn't hang around.
Absolutely.
Like having
and it is.
Friends and acquaintances. You got sort of acquaintances that float around and whatever, but your friends are the ones that are going to actually sit there and watch you, like from a musical perspective, as opposed to you just being ambience in the background.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that there is a kind of destination element to it, that you've got regular people that watch as often as maybe they can, but is there any algorithmic engine happening or anything that's actually directing people to you that maybe watch someone similar to you? Does Twitch operate that way, or?
In a way, yes. So that's probably the only downfall to Twitch. The discoverability on the platform is not great because it's very much the more viewers that you have, the higher up on the list you go. So let's say you go into the music and performing arts section, you open it up, it will by default, and you can reorder it, but by default it will go people who have 1,000 viewers at the top and people who have 2 viewers down the bottom. So people really have to go looking through that. So it is definitely something you work at to build a community that's, like you said, you get those regulars rolling in all the time and all of a sudden your stream bumps up. And they also do have a recommended section on the left, so it says like recommended for you. So if you're following people that are in the music performing arts section, you're following that category. When you go onto Twitch, it'll go, hey, here's somebody you haven't seen before, have a listen. And lately, over probably the last 6 months, really, I've been getting a lot of people say, oh my God, I came here through the recommended section of Twitch and I'm really glad I saw you on my recommended stuff.
Can we just stop for 1 second? That's the thing that I find the most, as a former musician, and we were in an obscure genre, progressive rock, but no one ever had a method or a way to tell you how they found you. It never existed before. You would have to basically pry that from their dead hands as to how did you turn up at this show? We've never met before.
Yeah.
But the people on, which is the thing that, just from tracking your Instagram, people do that. I guess it's just an internet thing. I'm here because of this person, or I came here because I found you on whatever, or someone mentioned you on YouTube or whatever it is, or Twitch. Like that's just blows my mind.
It's a form of people I shouldn't say overshare, but because there's not a visual element necessarily there for them, I think people are much more open with the sharing of information about how they got to a point.
And I guess in person, if I was to come to Chris and say, and be really in your face and say, I know who you are because Mel told me who you are, that would be a weird conversation in person.
Yeah.
But I think because you remove a little bit of that social stigma of being maybe too forward when you're typing a comment, because you're not in someone's face. I mean, you have the option as a creator to read it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just amazes me because as an artist, that's always the type of thing you wished that any fan that you had of anything you were doing was more open about. Like, how did you discover this band and then that band and then our band? But back in the day, you never got that kind of insight into anybody.
which makes it difficult too to understand what you're doing right.
Exactly. That's basically the end result of that is you really don't know what it was that you were doing. Like it could have been the fact that we had cool music or the fact that our singer was this really attractive Latino dude. Like you don't know. Like we never knew. Like most people would say that's why they were watching us, but
because the Latino.
Yeah, but you really wouldn't. Like no one would ever be just that blatantly honest, just with a short quippy. I'm here because my mate dragged me along and he discovered you through X or Y. Like it's pretty cool.
So, Chris, you were saying that you'd never sung before, and you just started on Twitch as your platform to practice. And where did the songwriting come into that? So you're playing in bands before, and then you were doing your singing. Were you already songwriting before you started singing, or did it sort of come about organically through the process of you just sort of being there in your own little room twitching?
Good question, and that would have taken me 3 times longer to ask. Good on you, Mel.
Thanks, mate.
I think, like, I'd written many musical pieces myself, and lyrics-wise, I'd never been, because I'd never done it before. It's just something, obviously the more you do it, the better you get at it, like anything else, practice, practice, practice. But yeah, through Twitch, it was just, it was just like the next progression. I'm a kind of person that if I start something, I want it to continually progress and move up and I can do new things. And, I'm always looking for what can I do next? What can I do next? And performing and singing, and I was enjoying it. I was like, okay, cool. What can I do next? Okay, songwriting. So I started mucking around with a few different things and wrote some absolutely terrible songs. But what they say, the more terrible stuff you write, eventually you start writing some good stuff. And then, obviously I wrote Not Crazy, which was that came out easily because it was about me. I think it was a personal experience sort of thing. So it just became like I just put everything out there and said, okay, what can I do with this? And wrote it all down. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh crap, I got a song here. Like, like it just happened.
So was the original music something that you set out to do, or were you just trying to build skills playing covers, so to speak, on the platform?
Yeah, I think eventually I always knew I was going to write songs, but yeah, I was happy writing. I was happy doing covers and stuff for the meantime, just to improve my craft. And the songwriting side of things, like I said, just sort of just came out because it was just, I think, the next step for me, my next bit.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with who Stephen Pressfield is, Chris, but he's a good author. He talks a lot about art. He said that he never knew that he was writing the book until he'd already written the book. And sometimes the best songs that you write is when you don't even realize you're writing a song yet. Like it's just a thing that becomes what it is, whether that's from dedication or the muse or whatever you believe. Sometimes really good songs quite often don't have some process. They just kind of, it sounds like that happened to you. Like, oh gosh, I got a song here. How did that happen?
Well, it's exactly the same. Like I got a new single coming in a week, and I literally sat here at my computer and I was mucking around with the guitar, and I was just mucking around with a couple of chords, and I was like, oh yeah. And then I put the guitar down, and my wife said to me, "Are you going to come to bed?" Yep. So I put the guitar down. As I was walking away, I just said one line, and then I turned around and walked straight back to the computer, opened up Notepad, and just started writing because I was like, "Hang on a second, that's a really cool line," and then just wrote. And by the time I went to bed, I had the song finished. And it was just one of those moments that just, you get struck with a little bit of something. And sometimes the best songs are written around, one little key piece of information. Out it come.
But you did what some people wouldn't have done. And you actually followed through on that moment of inspiration and actually did the hard work of writing it down. Not just thought, oh, that's inspiring, I'll remember that in the morning. Or whatever the situation, you actually went away and followed through. Because inspiration is it's not particularly helpful if you don't do anything with it. So
the amount of times that I've picked a guitar up and done something and then sung a line and gone, oh, that's really nice. And then 5 seconds later, I'm like, what did I say? Like, I'll say a line. I'm like, oh, that was really good. And now I can't remember what I said. Damn. So I definitely know what you're talking about there. It's sometimes the inspiration comes and then it just goes if you don't do something with it almost straight away.
So Mel, you brought up an interesting thing about the original music before. Was that something that your Twitch audience was open to? Were they asking you, because I'm assuming that was the majority of where your musical activities were happening was still through Twitch. And I mean, obviously we've all kind of been forced into doing versions of that now for whatever creative thing we do, but was it something that people were saying, I love your versions of these songs, do you have any of your own? Or did you just kind of slip them in when you thought, okay, I've built up a fair bit of goodwill here, I've played 2 hours of requests, I would like to just slip in my own song? Or do you just play it as though it's not even your song, and then when people say that's great, then you tell them you wrote it, which is what we used to do back in the day, playing covers in pubs?
So it's funny because when most of the support that came for my first original was from Twitch. So when I wrote Not Crazy and I released it, they went nuts for it. It's streamed constantly. Like I can open up Spotify and see that there's people listening to it like right now, and which still blows me away. But it's because they like, especially on Twitch, the moment you say you have an original, they're like, oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Like, they love originals on Twitch, and because they hear covers all the time, obviously, because that's sort of like, how you get people to listen. If I played just originals, it can be sometimes difficult if it's not in that specific, area of music that person listens to. Well, then they're not going to be interested and they're going to move on. Whereas when I'm doing the covers, I do such a wide range that I can capture a lot of different people. And then typically they request my originals for me. Like I don't ever put my own songs in my own queue. They just request them and I play them.
It's like a personal investment, though. I think you've built up like the platform where people are around you, and then they're invested, whether they sort of like it or not. They're already
gotcha.
Further to that, that's brilliant and spot on. But it's also probably that it's all like the punk rock clubs of New York City, CBGBs, or the Viper Room in LA, or it's a new version of being on the ground floor of something brand new. And those people want, the best of the best within that platform to, keep doing well and keep propagating their music out or whatever. But it's also probably semi-selfish as a fan to think, I was there when he was doing his first lot of stuff and I was one of the people that requested an original and it happened to be really good or whatever.
Well, the great thing about Twitch is, because like you said before about like regular people showing up, and you do start to remember people by their username and remember that they're coming in all the time, and sometimes I get someone, like a couple of people that come in who were there on my very first ever stream and I still remember their usernames and stuff. Like it's crazy. Like I share everything with them in terms of when it comes to music. Like if I, achieve something or I go to the studio, I take lots of photos and I put it up in the community chat, and like I have my own little chat channel that we all can talk and everything like that. So I share everything with them, because like you just said, they invested themselves, but they're investing in me, and with their with their highest commodity, which is time. They're in there coming and watching me on a regular basis and doing all that sort of stuff. So I always like to sort of give them back whatever whatever I can,
Obviously your community, because I've watched enough of your stuff to know you're doing an excellent job of the actual performance and everything. But it's good to know that you're actually recognizing that people are giving you, because when you're sitting there watching something, you are opting not to do something else.
Correct.
It's not like listening to music, because you could be doing that running, working out, you could be driving, but they're really just dedicating eyeball time to what you're doing. And I remember that the creator of 99% Invisible, which is a big podcast, his name's slipping my mind for the time being, he said that I think they had about 500,000 listeners per episode or something. He said every minute that I cut out of the show that doesn't need to be there, I've valued 500,000 minutes worth of human time.
Yeah.
But not every artist is that. I'm assuming there's people on Twitch that probably aren't they don't have that insight that you're actually requiring a fair bit of someone to sit there and watch something versus listen to it.
Particularly if you're someone like me, which has no attention span whatsoever.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
No, it's true though. Like I sort of can relate to you, Chris, going, I need something else. I need something else. I need something else. Like I'd get bored very easily if I was in your situation and not adding more layers on. I'd be just like, done that. Next. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
So I can relate to that. But yeah, it's a big time investment for someone to sit there and particularly look at your head, Chris, even though you're very no jokes. You're no. You're a good man. Yeah, for someone like me, there has to be something of value on the other end because I will be disengaged very, very quickly, and that's just the nature of me, and the nature of what society is now too. With just there's so much going on. So to be able to captivate someone for like the length of time that your streams and that go, you're obviously doing something right. So well done.
Thank you.
So can I just ask one last thing?
Mm-hmm.
Just from an artist, like a creative point of view, does improving the quality of the stream, is that as rewarding for you as the creator as it is for the audience?
100%. 100%. There's, like I said before, when you're looking at things, and I look at my very first streams compared to what my streams are now, and it is so wildly different. You know, like when I first played, I had a black sheet backdrop with a crappy camera that, it wasn't, nothing was good at all. The sound quality, everything in general was very poor. But, over time, I, sort of changed things up, and I watched other music streamers or just other streamers in general. I'm like, okay, lots of YouTube, lots of Google. And before I knew it, I was like, okay, I think I'm armed with the information to be able to do what I need to do. The studio area that I have has, 3 cameras, studio lighting, high definition cameras for on my head, and and just in terms of things, little simple things like I know you guys can see at the back, and there's some guitars hanging up on the wall, and just aesthetically pleasing things that people can look at. That's not, like you said, Mel, just my head. But again, to capture the magpies that come into the stream that see something else other than just the guy standing there with the guitar, they see other little things. They see things like, oh, is that a little pop Ed Sheeran sitting up on your guitar? And yeah, it is, and all those different little bits and pieces,
I have just one quick question on that. So you're saying you've got your original people that were invested with you right from the start, your personal investments into your time. Have you gone back and talked to them about your old streams, like your original ones?
Like, why did you stick with me, sort of thing?
No, I'm curious because I would be curious because I've listened back to like when I first started doing what I was doing as well, and it's just ridiculous how much you evolve. And for them to be there with you from the start, do they notice it as much, or is it just they've been part of the process that they're sort of in it, so they don't really realise how much you've got better? Without saying that you haven't got better, but you can look back on footage and say that. But have you talked to them about this?
Yeah, so I think there's like it's sort of half and half. So the people that are there nearly every single stream sort of just fall into the, oh yeah, things have just been improving over time, and they just sort of they go with the flow. But it's like if you see a friend all the time and then you look back at a photo of your friend 10 years ago, you go, oh my God, you have changed, but you don't really realize it during that time.
Yeah.
But if you don't see somebody for 5 years and then you see them and you go, oh my God, you've changed.
Yeah.
It's very much like that. I got some viewers that were there at the very start, and they just come in every now and again, and they come in and they go, I just wanted to let you know how much better you have gotten since I first saw you and how much better the stream looks.
That's cool.
And I'm like, cool, that's awesome, pat on the back,
Yeah, no,
doing things right,
That's it. Yeah, that's where I was sort of angling with that question. You answered it much more succinctly than I asked it.
It's a funny concept because what you're talking, I think about, Mel, is just micro improvements.
Yeah.
Because my friend sent me this dating video, which I might include at the very end of this episode. It's me basically dressed in a skeleton mask from about nearly 10 years ago asking for a date.
Right.
From another skeleton.
Yeah, okay.
There was there was ahs. I was lost for words a few times, things that don't happen to me now. I don't have any crutch words.
Yeah.
But every second word was and and I'm like, if I didn't do 1,000 podcasts in the last 10 years, that's how I would still speak.
Yeah.
Like it was me and it sounded like me. Just even the pattern of how I was speaking was different. Over time, that's only because of doing all of that.
Yeah.
And people who met me now and then, if there was that 10-year gap, as we're talking about a big gap, they'd be like, you don't sound like you at all.
Yeah, it's just part of the process. Yeah. No, I was just curious on the view of the people that have been there from the start, and you've answered that well. It's exactly like a friend, I suppose.
Yeah, well, my
We
friends
have
look at me and they're like, wait a second, you used to have a six-pack and now you're fat. So thanks, guys. It's true,
Yeah,
though.
cheers, guys.
I'm okay with it. So not okay with the fat, okay with them telling me the truth. So just to finish up, I guess, obviously we've avoided talking about it. We're in the middle of a very different situation in the world. If we timestamp this a little bit, April 2020, COVID-19, are you seeing what you're doing, people reaching out to you more than you ever have, maybe, Chris, to find out how you've managed to master to a certain degree, a presentation style?
He is the master now. I know for a fact that as soon as this went down, everyone was like, oh, Chris Miller, remember we're good mates, aren't we? Yeah. How have you been doing all this? And before, he was just like this little sideline little dude on the side doing his own thing, which I am totally around, by the way.
Yeah.
And now anyone else like, oh, yeah, I've been talking to Chris Miller. He's been telling me what I should be doing and shouldn't be doing. So yeah.
Well, I just want to make clear, that wasn't a leading question from me.
Sorry, I just answered it for you because I know full well that that's what has been happening. But you can answer it in a much more nicer way than what I did.
No, absolutely. I've been getting a lot of questions from people. It's mostly gear questions, and a little, and then I sort of lead them to the software side of things that helps deliver all of this. Some people, it's difficult for them to grasp the concept very quickly, and obviously because it sort of happened so suddenly, people need to be fast. They need to be quick learners, and they need to be able to pick it up and go, okay, cool, yep, you tell me what to do. And to a lot of people's credit, they have been able to just pick it up and run with it, and it's been great. And then there's been some people obviously that have just gone, oh, a little bit too hard. I'll just do it from my phone for the meantime, and then until everything times over, which is okay too. That's perfectly fine.
But
yes, I've been getting a lot of questions.
That's a credit to you for being a good dude and a good sharer, I would say, because a lot of people would be just like, nah, F you. Where were you when I was doing all this stuff by myself? And people only want information when it's useful to them. And there's actually the amount of stuff the hours that you've put in to build up your knowledge base is massive. Theoretically, you could have been charging for it. And
some people have said to me that I should be, but I don't think that's fair. Like, I understand that I put in a lot of time in learning all these different things. Like, it took me a good 6 to 8 months before I actually understood how everything worked together and then how to simplify it, rather than making it this big giant thing with 18 different programs running and whatever. I just went, how can I make this as simple as possible? Because everything I use for streaming, I use for live gigs. So I've got to pack it down and reset it up every time I go do live gigs. So I had to make it easy. And then, so of course, when I went to explain this to somebody else, I went, right, I can make this really simple for you straight from the get-go. Like, I think at the moment there's some people that are really in a bad spot. So I have a day job, so I work during the day. I do my music at night. That includes streaming and everything else. Like, I work on everything else in my own time. There's some people at the moment that their job and their career is music, and to not have that medium to go to, I really do feel for them. So that's where I've just said, if you've got any questions, far away, I'm more than happy to help you. And I've gone around to some musicians' houses and sat down with them with their gear and their computers and said, right, let's do this. And I sit there for 2 or 3 hours running through everything, helping them set everything up. And now they're streaming on Facebook or Twitch or whatever on a fairly regular basis with really nice quality. Because I know that aesthetically people need to be able to have something that they can see and hear, and it's clear and nice and looks good to keep your attention. Like, I understand that more than anyone.
All-round good guy, Chris Miller. Yeah. Right there.
That's how we'll finish that one up. All-round good guy.
All-round good guy. And for anyone listening at home, appreciate the time that he's put in the background for you guys. And he's worth more money. I'd double your wages, but I can't.
I'll even double what we paid him to be on this call.
Exactly. Woof. Double nothing.
Yes, double nothing.
That's what Dad would say. Double nothing.
Righto. Well, thanks, Chris. Can you just fire away those socials again? Because I probably completely miffed them at the start of this.
www.twitch.tv/C Miller. Music, and then C Miller Music _AU for your Instagram and Twitters, and then Chris Miller Music for your Facebook.
We'll C Miller Music for Facebook as well.
Oh, C Miller.
Yeah.
C Miller.
Yep. Everything's C Miller Music.
At least people aren't
Twitter
calling
and
you
Instagram
Camilla
_AU.
like they would to me.
Yeah.
Camilla.
It's not
some people
Cliston,
call me
people. It's
Chiller.
not Cliston.
Oh, it's such a bad name, Cliston.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks, Chris. Absolute pleasure to finally. I guess this is as close as we can get to meeting face to face.
Can we elbow over the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's all elbows.
Hey.
Okay. Righto, mate. Well, thank you. And if anyone's wondering, I'll probably include a picture if Chris is okay with, just because he described the studio. So if he's okay with that,
Absolutely.
Can you answer this one in 10 seconds and we'll say goodbye? Has anyone ever asked you, are you a dad?
Yes.
On your stream? And do you use
They all know.
Do you use this angle?
No.
Okay, because only people that see the fact that you've actually got this big thing saying "Dad" in the background. I'm just wondering if people actually ask you that.
No, they all know I'm a father. It's sort of like my thing. I go, hey, for everyone that's new here, my name's Chris Miller. I'm obviously a Twitch streamer, Australian singer-songwriter, father, husband from Australia, and that's sort of like my opening tag to get people to go, oh, okay, cool.
He's relatable.
He's relatable.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, nice.
That's it. Good looking, relatable top bloke, Chris Miller.
All round good guy.
Righto. Well, thank you, mate.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, see you, bud.
Thanks very much, guys.
So, Chris, I would say that you perfectly sold him, Mel. Champion guy.
Yeah, all round good guy he is. You won't get to see him on this podcast, but I'm going to describe him for you.
I did take a screenshot that I'll put in the notes.
He's just got a really friendly face, and that friendly face transfers into everything that he does is about helping other people. And if you've just listened in, which you should have.
You didn't just skip to the end where we talk again.
Yeah. He's been offering all his wealth of knowledge and all the hours that he's put in so that he can just help others that are in this shitty time at the moment that we're all not loving, and sharing his skills like him.
Pretty amazing for a solo performer that part of why you do something solo is to take expectation of having to do things for other people off your shoulders.
Yeah.
He's taken up the reins of helping people wherever he can, local or otherwise, I'm assuming.
I fully am aware, and I mentioned it, is that he was the go-to person in the Albury-Wodonga region.
You kind of may have embarrassed him too when you said that.
Well, he had this little niche thing going on that I think people weren't aware of, so were maybe intimidated or scared of because it's the unknown. But now that we're in this situation where we can't go out and perform and be like interacting with people, he's the one that you want to go to because he's been doing it himself for a long time and working on the craft.
It is strange how certain artists or types of art in, unusual circumstances, kind of the medium and also the performer, if those two things coalesce in the right way, sometimes a new art form can come out of times like this.
Yeah.
And that one's obviously bubbling away online and through Twitch particularly for a long time, and now it's kind of having its time in the sunshine, so to speak. Like,
it's a very necessary thing at the moment. Creatives need an outlet, and at the moment, the usual outlets aren't available. So we need to do something so that we all don't go mad at home.
Correct. You know what won't send you mad though? buymeacoffee.com/JoshC listed.
Send me just a little bit crazy with caffeine.
Yeah, send Mel slightly crazy with caffeine. Go to that website, punchingsideways.com, to share the show. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Thanks, Mel, again, for coming from somewhere else.
Thank you.
And, yeah, this has been pretty awesome. I was really excited. I didn't know, when someone's talking someone up to you a little bit, my general reaction, as we've talked about, our recalcitrant natures. But he was everything you said, and an even nicer guy than what people have told me, which that blew me away a bit.
A little fun fact that you didn't know about, he can do a backflip, which I think that's why I was invested in him. So I'd found out this backflip thing beforehand. So probably I wasn't as invested in the music as I was the fact that he had an acrobatic ability.
Which makes complete sense.
Yeah, exactly. Just push me down that area. He's a really nice guy, guys. Get onto his Twitch stream and just get around him because he's helping everyone else at the moment too. So, yay, Chris.
Yay, Chris. Bye, Chris. Bye, everyone. Bye, Mel.
Bye.
Bye, Mel and Coffee.
See ya.
Ah, creepy whispers.
You're like, bye.
Hi, it's Josh here. So I haven't really been getting out much lately, and I think I had a few issues with my skin, and I was feeling like I was lacking a bit of confidence, and I started to get a bit thin on top, and it's all started going downhill. So I'm just looking for a lovely skeleton lady out there that can get down with me, that likes to dance the night away, and if that's you, let's do it.
This episode was edited by Dead Set Podcasting. If you want your podcast to sound this good, check out deadsetpodcasting.com/services. Get the sound you're chasing.